Welcome to the program. Hello, I'm your host, Ron Whitlock. Since 9/11 and all of the efforts and initiatives of the United States Congress to try and secure the border, the relationships between the peoples of the United States and Mexico have become strained. Working to try and improve that relationship and get them back to where they were at one particular point in time, Bill Summers, president of the Rio Grande Valley Partnership, which is a regional chamber of commerce along the southern border of Texas and Mexico, and co-chair of the Binational Chamber of Commerce Coalition. Bill, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here. I like your new digs.
Thank you. Since 9/11 and all of the emphasis of the Bush administration, rightly or wrongly, to secure the border with U.S. visit, requiring of passports, birth certificates, and the like, the economy and the relationships between the citizens of Mexico and the United States have become strained. Explain that to the audience, how that's working and what's causing that to happen.
Well, especially with the two governments, they seem to think that things are not working well, and we are trying our best here on the Rio Grande Valley, and with the state of Tamaulipas, our partners across the river. We're trying to keep our friendship going and our business going. And so we formed this coalition of chambers of commerce from the state of Tamaulipas and the chambers of commerce from the Rio Grande Valley. And we meet every 90 days to talk about our projects and to work together to bring tourists to the valley and to Mexico.
I've attended most of those meetings, and I can tell you they are increasingly becoming more and more popular. The attendance is going up,
yes,
and they are accomplishing something. Not sure exactly what yet, but we have a feeling, as a reporter at least, that there's something great on the horizon. Do you get the same feeling, Bill?
Yeah, well, you know, right now, I don't feel like we've accomplished, but we have accomplished things that can't be seen, and that's to keep the friendship going, to keep the business culture going, and keeping us together on the border when maybe our two governments are trying to keep us apart.
Well, Julio Cesar Almanza, who used to be with the Matamoros Chamber of Commerce as executive director, and now is with the Chamber of Commerce of the entire state of Tamaulipas, and Angela Burton, who's executive director of the Brownsville Chamber of Commerce, came up with the idea of the coalition of chambers of commerce on both sides of the border, U.S. and Mexico, to come together because they enjoyed working together, and the relationship that they developed during that working together that was so important, and they thought it would be something that would be very beneficial to the business economy and to the peoples of both countries for this kind of thing to be amplified. And that's really how your organization got started.
Right. That's exactly right.
So what is the objective at this particular point in time? You've been meeting for about a year and a half.
Well, for example, you know, a lot of the people that used to go to Mexico or that still go to Mexico was afraid because the military was over there. Well, we're trying to get people to understand that the military over there is good for us because it's there for protection. And people think that because some of the bad things have happened with drugs across the border, they think that it happens everywhere in Mexico. It happens here in the Rio Grande Valley. You know, remember not too long ago up at Ed Couch, around Ed Couch, they had 6 people killed because of drugs. Well, that's not any different than what's over in Mexico.
So if you're not smuggling drugs into or out of Mexico or dealing with drug people in Mexico, then you're not going to be harmed.
That's right. Bad things happen to people in bad places by bad people. So we are business people. We're working also with each of the government, the state of Texas and the state of Tamaulipas, and we're trying to keep things going on a, you know, I can't emphasize enough the friendship we have with each other. And if the people in Mexico City and the people in Washington would let us sit down here like we did the other day in Nuevo Progreso and let us work problems out locally, we wouldn't have all that. We wouldn't have to build a fence. We wouldn't have to do all this and that.
During the meeting, other than getting to know each other and the camaraderie and the esprit de corps and talking about unique problems to each other on both sides, what else was accomplished at that particular meeting?
Well, we found out that, which will help us, that the Secretary of Tourism for the state of Tamaulipas had said that they're providing $80,000 to promote Nuevo Progreso throughout the country in the United States and Mexico. Now, that's going to bring people to the Rio Grande Valley also. So we're getting freebies on that $80,000 worth of promotion.
So that promotion dollar being spent by the state of Tamaulipas is going to be in Mexico or going to be in the United States,
yes,
trying to get U.S. citizens to come and shop,
right,
spend time in which?
And quite a bit of it's going to be spent in the United States to let people know that it's safe to come to Mexico. And they're going to have to pass right through the bridges on the Rio Grande here in the Rio Grande Valley.
You think it's going to work?
I think so, too. If they come through with the money, it's going to work.
At least they're making an effort.
That's right. That's right.
At least they want to re-invite the people of your region, state of Texas, and the entire nation to come back and make it like it was, because the economy of Nuevo Progreso, just like all the communities up and down the river from Brownsville all the way to California, have been hindered by the U.S. visit requirements, bringing your birth certificate, all those kinds of things, the military of Mexico being there, all of those things have provided a little bit of a disconcerting situation on the part of tourists going to shop.
Right, and I guarantee you, if Mexico and the border cities have problems and economic problems, then the Rio Grande Valley is going to have economic problems.
We attended the Binational Chamber of Commerce meeting held at Garcia's, the Canada store in Nuevo Progreso, Mexico, and we talked to the Tamaulipas Secretary of Tourism, Javier Villarreal. Here's what he had to say. Mr. Secretary, why is this meeting so important?
It's because we came to work together, both sides of the border, all the people to work in the commerce. Now is so glad. I feel that people from Nuevo Progreso very confident in the people on the other side of the border, and to work together to have better economy, more jobs, and more hope in the people on both sides of the border.
You commented here today that it's what unites us rather than divides us. Is it important to look at the Rio Grande as a uniter rather than a divider with walls and those kinds of things?
Definitely.
Talk about it just a moment. The last question about the soldiers that are involved that President Calderon has sent to the frontera, to the border, to make people feel secure. Some do not feel secure seeing the soldiers at the bridges. Should they feel more secure, as Bill Summers says that they should?
Definitely. The people say, yes, no problems here.
And the goal for the organization is what? Maybe it'll spread, maybe it'll go all the way to California?
We hope that maybe we will be looked at by each government and use us and the knowledge we possess combined with both countries, and if they have a problem, they'll come to us and ask us to help solve some of the problems, because, you know, businesses solves a lot of problems, and that's what we represent, businesses, so maybe we can help. I think we could do a lot better job than the two governments are doing now.
Politicians not invited?
Well, they can come and buy us a drink or something, but no, not yet.
Because it's the politics of it all that seems to be not getting it done. We have all of these mayors and others going back and forth to Washington, D.C., and they come back, but everything seems to stay the same.
That's right.
Maybe it is time for the people and the chambers of commerce to get together and do it, Bill.
The business people. That's exactly right.
Now, you've been quoted in the Rio Grande Guardian with a story by Steve Taylor in particular, at several of these meetings, by the way, that Summers slammed the border politics coming out of Washington, D.C. Summers, you said, being left to their own devices, border business leaders on either side of the Rio Grande could solve the issues that matter to the region without negative intervention of the United States Congress. That's a pretty strong statement.
And it's the truth, too. You know what? What's that man's name? Chernoff. He comes down here and he makes people mad, and he he has not gotten anything done.
And he cuts deals and then goes back on his word.
That's right, right. He's a very untruthful person. And I don't see why they send him down here. I don't know what he's good for myself. He's not good for this project.
Now, the state of Tamaulipas is spending $80,000 to try and promote United States shoppers to come back to Nuevo Progreso, perhaps something they're going to try, hopefully in Nuevo Progreso, and then spin up and down the border,
right.
Because Tamaulipas is a big state, all the way from Brownsville at the southern end, all the way to Laredo and Nuevo Laredo at the northern end.
Right.
And they're going to advertise to try and get these people to come back.
Right.
And the fear being they're going to get captured in the drug violence, they're going to have some harm come to them and their family, and or the increased security. Now, seeing these Army soldiers standing at the border when we crossed into Nuevo Progreso, it does give you a feeling of confidence, but it also kind of gives you a little bit of a fear factor when you see them. How do you overcome that fear factor?
Just act normal. You know, if you don't have anything to be scared about, don't be scared. You know. So, you know, I've traveled for 14 years to our office in Ciudad Victoria, and I've never had a problem. And I used to go every 15 days until I got too old, but never had a problem. They've always been nice to me and the people I'm with.
Now, Mr. Summers, Tamaulipas Governor Eugenio Javier Hernandez, a good friend of yours, has committed to promoting tourism and trade along his border with the United States and Texas. Has Rick Perry done his share on his side to do the same?
Well, I don't know if the governor of Texas has talked about tourism along the border, but he has tried to help us on the border crossings and that problem we have. He's tried to find new ways, and so they won't have to build a fence. They can use cameras and things like that. But I think they meet regularly together, the two governors, and I think the governor has helped us. You know, there's a lot of...
But he seems to be more on the side of enforcement. When
right.
you talk about cameras, tried that technique, right. Boots on the ground, operations he have had, several of them that he has had and then pulled back on. Those have all basically been on the side of enforcement of immigration and not on the area of promoting tourism. So would you encourage the Governor Rick Perry, to try and get with his economic development people, his tourism people, and try to help get
right.
people to come to the Rio Grande Valley
right.
and the border region?
Yes, but we also got to understand the governor of the state of Tamaulipas does not have these problems to deal with. All he has to do is promote tourism, but our governor has to get the other things done first, because he's trying to keep the federal government from messing up our borders.
Now, Texas Governor Rick Perry has continually verbally come out against construction of the border wall by the Bush administration and Secretary Michael Chertoff, saying, of course, that if you build an 18-foot fence along the border, along the Rio Grande in particular, all that's going to happen is you're going to increase the 19-foot ladder business in Mexico.
Right.
So the governor is doing what he can to at least try to say and make sure everybody understands in Washington, D.C., he's opposed to this construction.
Right. That's right. And he's made it known that he is opposed to it. Bless his heart.
Should he and others do more to try and make sure that the wall and the fence is not constructed along the natural barrier of the Rio Grande River?
You know what? So many people have tried everything in the world, and that guy that we talked about a while ago, he don't listen to nothing. He don't listen to anything. I don't know what is wrong with these people. You know, another thing I want to mention, I came back across the Progreso Bridge the other day, and, you know, here I am, an old guy, gray-haired guy. Do I look like a terrorist? But it wasn't just me. They were stopping cars for such a long time. And some of those guys, ICE guys and women, are just plain mean, and they need to straighten up themselves. You know, we've heard more complaints about how they treat people. Not only the foreigners coming over, but the American people, and that's not right. They ought to get their act together and be more hospitable to their own people even.
This story from the Laredo Morning Times, a $1 billion shortfall for state highway projects until at least 2009. TxDOT is offering alternative financing mechanism in the city of Laredo and Webb County to pave the way for much-needed mobility projects. Similar funding, this is me now, from El Paso and Rio Grande Valley RMAs and others are using some of these TxDOT funds for highway construction in your region, Bill Summers and the Rio Grande Valley Partnership, and in El Paso. So now the Webb County Commissioner, Precinct 3, Jerry Garza, has said, we have to make sure that we are maintaining our competitive edge. Without competitive edge, we lose out. District 2 Councilman Hector Tito Garcia of Laredo said, we've got to compete with McAllen in the Valley, or elsewise we're going to get our lunch eaten. Laredo, Texas District Councilman Mike Garza agrees, says that TxDOT's funding conundrum, new financing mechanism to fund Laredo and Webb County highway projects, can even be accelerated if they don't maintain their competitive edge against the Valley. You shocked to hear now Laredo talking again about competing with the Valley after years of working with the partnership and with the Valley stakeholders and trying to have a front that's unified when we go to Austin?
And we need to work together. We've been working together since 1991 on the I-69 highway. You know, Laredo has an interstate, we don't. And but I don't think. Well, up to a certain point, yes, we do compete with them, but we all need to work as a region. And but right now, we're trying to get all the Valley people working together. But that makes me feel kind of good that another part of the state of Texas is saying that the Rio Grande Valley is a big competitor.
So which is it? Is it good that Councilman Garcia and Garza are saying that they're feeling now there's competition between Laredo over TxDOT dollars against the Valley? Or should this be an opportunity for you to say, look, Congressman Henry Cuellar, Senator Judah Zaffarini, let's get them to come down the Valley and let's use this as an opportunity to try to set up a meeting and talk to each other.
Right. Well, that's good. And, you know, one of the greatest assets we
Which
have.
is it?
Well, I think we ought to work together. And I think we ought to, we've been doing that since 91 on highway money. And I think we are so lucky to have Congressman Cuellar represent part of the Rio Grande Valley.
Both Laredo and McAllen.
Yes, yes.
Both the Valley and Laredo and Webb County.
That's right, that's right.
Now, we talked to the Mayor Pro Tem about regionalization, and he was surely on board on that particular issue. Here's that interview. Mayor, while many communities in the region of South Texas have always looked at trying to be competitive with their neighbor down the street, their community down the road, community down the river, your community is taking the approach that if it comes to your community, it'll benefit the region, and regionalization is the idea and the concept that needs to be promoted, looked at, and encouraged. Why do you have that opinion, and what's it all about?
Well, I think it's an ongoing debate. I don't think that the community has come to that conclusion just yet, but I think that this is the direction we're heading, certainly the direction I want to head. So when we talk about this regional concept, we're talking about increasing the capacity of the entire region. Now, does that mean that there could be a negative impact to Laredo if McAllen got this leg of the Trans-Texas Corridor 69 or I-69? Absolutely. But in the long term, the consumer, the companies that are building these products and shipping these products from the Pacific Rim or from the Midwest into Mexico or out of Mexico into the rest of our country are looking for capacity. They're looking for the ability to move their goods through an area as fast as they can, as cheaply as they can. And so long term, you've got to realize it's all got to cross our bridges. We're going to make money at this. We're going to be successful at this because I think we're improving our infrastructure constantly. There is going to be an increase in traffic from components being assembled in Mexico or parts that are needed from other parts of the world that come through this port. When Lázaro Cárdenas comes online in the next 5 years, and the amount of which is the deep water port that's in the state of Michoacán in Mexico that is now competing with Long Beach. When that comes online, the amount of volume of traffic that will come through this port and McAllen and Brownsville and all the areas in this region is going to be huge. Now, do we want a larger part of that pie? Absolutely we do. But you have to realize that the more people look at this region, not just Laredo, not just McAllen, not just San Antonio, but Corpus, Houston, all these components that allow for goods and services to pass through here, then concepts like the Trans-Texas Corridor 35, Trans-Texas Corridor 69, which also has an offshoot that goes into Corpus Christi, into the new port that they're working on, or the Port of Houston, I think benefit Laredo, benefit the region as a whole.
But in reality, when Los Cardenas will be completed, if Laredo got all the rail traffic, it would be overcapacity and it would be gridlock. So all of that traffic must be shared.
The negative side of that would the traffic could easily move to Eagle Pass or McAllen. But if we could, conceivably, between all of us, handle that volume, knowing full well that Laredo, because of its geography and its infrastructure, is going to get the lion's share of that. Should we be in competition with McAllen? Should we be in competition with San Antonio? I don't think so. I think we ought to be in partnership. And I think we ought to figure out ways to create this capacity through Laredo that services McAllen, services Corpus, San Antonio, and makes Laredo and the region, border region, the hub. Whether it be from Eagle Pass and Del Rio all the way down to Brownsville, or whether it goes all the way up to San Antonio or Houston, no matter. I think looking at this region, as companies look at this area, the capacity and the speed and the technology and infrastructure that's here benefits everyone.
So now you have the mayor pro tem of the city of Laredo talking about regionalization, but because those TxDOT dollars are somewhat more strapped because of the conundrum funding problem in Austin and TxDOT, some city councilman, one county commissioner, Webb County, talking about competitive circumstance. So do you want to invite them to come to the Valley, or do you want to have them invite you to come to Laredo and talk about it?
We'll let them come here, but just remember, for many years, we were not getting funding dollars for our highways in the Rio Grande Valley. That's why we don't have an interstate.
They do have.
Yeah, and thank the Lord, before all this budget cuts and everything, that the Rio Grande Valley has over $700 million worth of projects that are completed or in working right now here in the Rio Grande Valley.
So at this particular point in time, the Valley is not connected per se with an interstate completed system.
Right. And we will be, I think, for years we've been fighting for the I-69 highway, or it might be called I-37. But I know right now that the Valley, from the border to I-37, we're going to get our interstate first, the first part of the I-69 highway.
So there is no crack in the ice as far as you're concerned, no crack in the unity of the relationship between the Valley and Laredo as it relates to I-69.
We serve with them on this board.
Es una promesa.
Yeah, we're good, see,
Es la verdad.
But they got to keep politicians out of it. Us business guys have been working.
As promised earlier in the program, we are now segueing out of the studio here to the state capitol in Austin for the major announcement, which is?
Well, they're finally going to build I-69, start I-69 to the Rio Grande Valley. They're going to first come down or up 77 from the border. They're going to start on the border, and they're going to go all the way, and they're going to upgrade 77 to 37 first with projects on 281. And
to come later?
To come later. And this part of the engineering and everything will take about 18 months. And then they're going to do construction. And we have been working on this since 1991. Things are looking good. And this is the happiest day. This is about like when my grandson was born. It's a big event. The people in the valley, in the rest of the state, don't realize that we're the only part of the state in the United States without an interstate. So getting this is like in the old days when you get indoor plumbing.
We now take you inside the TxDOT building, you the audience, to see what happened here at TxDOT headquarters to get us where we are, I-69 completed, Corpus Christi to the Rio Grande Valley.
What this means is that the Rio Grande Valley, as well as the rest of the state, is closer to Interstate Highway 69 than it's ever been in the past. For 20 years, it's been a line on a map. The action the Commission took today and the direction given to the agency means that this thing is closer to being a reality than it's ever been, which is of significant importance to the good people in South Texas.
You kind of glazed over the direction given to the Commission. That was given by Texas Governor Rick Perry back in Houston at the I-69 meeting, correct?
That's right. It's been a long process. It's been too long of a process, but the governor gave the clear direction to the agency to get this built, and with this decision today, we're closer than we've ever been, and we're very excited to get the project moving.
Thank you, Bill, for appearing on the program. Thank you for being with us here at I-69, just a few short years away, we hope. Oh,
I am so happy.
Still next time here on Ron Whitlock Reports. Adios.